Hey you guys, it's Crystal Jordan. I know it's been about a month since I spoke to you guys. Last time we talked about transitioning to homeschool with your kids. I know that with COVID going on, kids were out of school early this year. Y'all had to do the whole figure it out thing, trying to figure out where we're going to put our kids. Can they still go to daycare? Can they still go to school? Most people's schools have gone back, but they've gone back virtual. And then some were just like doing nothing depending on what age your kids were. So the last time we talked, I told you guys, I'm a nanny and that the kids that I have are 3 and 4 years old. So they are not in virtual school. And we had to figure out how they were still going to get educated and stay on the same level that they needed to be on while school is closed without actually having access to virtual school and things of that nature like the older kids do. So told you guys that we had ordered the homeschooling program Moving Beyond the Page. So today I want to kind of update you on how that's been going. And it's actually been going pretty well. So I told you guys that, I did the unboxing with you. I showed you exactly what everything came with. It came with, for those of you who missed that video, I'll post the link below, but it did come with a full kit for the homeschooling. So it came with a parent's manual, a kid's workbook. It came with all of the books for every unit, which turned out to be like somewhere between 28 and 32 books, somewhere around there. And then it also came with a big box of supplies. And those supplies are for like art projects and little activities that go with each unit. So, how has it been going? It's actually been going pretty good. I've been using that program for both the 4 and the 3-year-old. The program is actually designed for kids 5, I believe it's for the one that we have him on is for kindergarten, so like 5 and 6 years old. He's a little advanced, so we just went ahead and put him in the kindergarten stuff, and it's doing really well. So every single week, every unit, you start a new unit. Every unit comes with a sight word, a vocabulary word, a letter of the week, and a book. So we usually recap what we did last week. Like I'll sit down with them and go, hey, you guys, let's go over some of the things that we've learned so far. And it also comes with a little box that's about that tall, that wide, and it's full of index cards. And so it has a stack of index cards that are alphabet cards, and they all have a letter on them, like A is for apple, and B is for bear, things like that. And then the second set of cards is the sight words. So, and it'll say unit 1, unit 2, week 2, whatever. It'll have that at the top of it, and then it'll have the actual sight word. And then there's also a set of cards that has numbers on them. So the number is on the front, and on the back of the card, it has the matching dots. You know how you're in kindergarten, they have little dots. They hook them around and say how many dots are on the card, and you count them, and you get it right, and they show you the number so you can recognize the number. So what I have been doing is for the youngest one, little girl, she's 3, she's still learning to recognize her numbers and letters. So I use those cards for her. Her brother has completely mastered that. It's kind of a waste of time for him to play with that stuff. He still sits there and does it with her. And I think I kind of like it that way because what he does is it kind of encourages him to help her learn. So I'll tell him like, hey, don't tell Nana the answers. We're going to see, if she knows them. Sometimes I'll go in order of what we've learned. Like I'll go in order of the weeks because the letter of the week is not in alphabetical order. So I think the first week was A, and then it went from A to G, and from G to F. Like it's kind of jumps everywhere. But they don't do it in order. And I love that because then they're not just saying their ABCs, they're actually recognizing these letters and numbers. So sometimes I'll skip around just to make sure that she hasn't memorized the order of the cards. And we'll just kind of go by like, hey, Naya, which one is this? What letter is this? If she can recognize it, great. I applaud her. I give her some type of recognition for it. If not, I say, oh, that's okay. Let's try another one. And I'll show her another one. And then I've even started, now that she's getting better at recognizing the letters, because she is better at recognizing her letters and her numbers, I've started jumping back and forth, making sure that she knows the difference between letters and numbers. Because in the beginning, that was an issue. I may show her the letter S, and then I might show her the number 2 behind it, and she was mistaking the number 2 for the letter S. Things of that nature, or the number 5 for S, things like that. So making sure that they know their letters and their numbers completely separately. Now, with the older kid who does the vocabulary words and the sight words, this kid in particular happens to have an amazing memory. And I know that all kids learn differently. So I try to find different ways with the vocabulary word. I give him the exact definition that is in the book. And I think this is where we sometimes go wrong. Sorry, you guys, there's something popping up on my screen. Sometimes go wrong when we're teaching kids definitions is we kind of like to paraphrase it our way. I give him the exact definition that is in the book and teach him word for word the definition. And then how he paraphrases it is his business. So when I ask him, hey, what does the word flicker mean? He can spit back the exact definition, and then I'll kind of ask him to explain it, and he'll put it in his own words. And he literally, like, when I ask him to, give me the definition of the word flicker, he'll tell me, it's when something goes back and forth or on and off, which was the definition that was in the book. And then I say, okay, well, give me an example of using the word flicker. What does it mean? Show me or tell me what it means when something is flickering. And he'll get up and he'll flicker the lights on and off. He'll flip the light switch up, down, and say, see, it's going up and down. The lights are going on and off. It's flickering. So he's, have them prove to you in some kind of way that they really understand what the definition of the word means. So the words have been really good. I like doing the vocabulary words with him because it's helping grow his vocabulary. And I like that you get to see him use it in everyday scenarios. He's really, really good at applying what he's learning. Second thing is for the sight words. I have found it extremely helpful with the sight words, not only having him sound them out so that he can learn the words and be able to read them, but teaching him how to spell it at the same time. So I really wish somebody would have done this with me because I'm a terrible speller. Like, as an adult, predictive text is my friend. I will look up or halfway type a word in Google or on my phone to spell something in a heartbeat. I was never good at spelling, but I realized while teaching him his sight words and teaching him how to spell them at the same time, that it's really, really helpful with him learning how to read and identify the words. Because if you know how a word is spelled, the moment you see that word, you automatically know what it is. And we sometimes make up little songs for it. So for example, one of his sight words one week was little. And he was trying to kind of stumbling over it a little bit. He could sound it out, but then when he saw it, even though he kept seeing it in different scenarios, he would always have a hard time remembering what the word was. And then we'd have this long, drawn-out process of him constantly trying to sound out the same word over and over again for a whole week straight. So we decided we were going to sing it, and we were going to spell it. So I told him, Little. It's little. It's little. And literally now, every time he sees the word little, he sings a little song in his head, and he's like, Little. It's little. And he knows that that's the word. So yes, he is reading the word, and I do make him practice sounding it out. But one of the things about the English language is we have so many letters that have multiple sounds, and it can be frustrating for both parents and kids teaching them how to read when you have to, they're sounding out the first sound that comes to their mind. Like A is a perfect example. A has 3 different sounds, y'all. And I know that sometimes we forget this because we already know how to read, but as a kid, that can be really frustrating when, you're trying to figure out why the word all is an la. Because those are the sounds that we're taught. We're taught that A is for a and L is for la. And so when you put that together, it doesn't make sense when you get all. And so I sometimes even find myself, we get to certain words. I'll say, hey, before you read this word, the A makes the ah sound in this one. Or the A makes the ah sound in this one. And even sitting down and making sure we go over the letters individually and what their sounds are. We did like 3 weeks just on that before we even started the program. So how does it work using it for both kids? It actually works really well. I was kind of concerned at the beginning about trying to use a program for older kids, like for 6-year-olds on a 3-year-old. But like I explained a little earlier, when I broke it down and I found things that worked for, them individually and together, it works. So with the what is it called? The kids workbook. So it has parent manual that tells you exactly what to do. You guys, want to tell you, this is the easiest program I've ever used. It is bulletproof. It is dummy proof. It literally, you open the page and it says day 1, unit 1. It'll say unit 1, week 1, day 2, or day 1, or whatever. And then it'll literally tell you, you are going to need this, and this for this day in this unit. And it'll tell you even down to the activities. Go to your activity box, and all the activity supplies are in their own individual baggies, and they have the labels on them. So if you're supposed to be making the letter A at a popsicle stick or something, it'll be a bag of popsicle sticks, and it'll say unit 1, day 1, activity 1. So you know exactly what you're supposed to pick up. There's no way for you to mistake what the materials are supposed to be. So that's really helpful. The way that I do it for them as far as the workbook goes, because there's a kids workbook that goes along with everything, and some of the activities are pages in the workbook, like tracing the letters and writing the letters, or maybe, coloring something or cutting it out. And like 1 week we had to make an elephant for the letter E. So I had all these pieces. What I suggest doing, whether you have one kid doing this or multiple kids doing this, do not write in that book. And I know you're like, what? Why? Why would I not write in the book? For the purpose of them being able to use that stuff again, I take that book and I make copies. So that way, the stuff that both of them can do, I just make copies. They're blank, all the pages in their book are blank right now, but they're still doing the activities. And then I plan on actually making like a little binder at the end of everything and putting all their work together. Kind of like a little portfolio for them. So you can do things like that, but mostly for the purpose of, if my 4-year-old or 3-year-old wants to go back, or if I want them to go back and practice something that was in that book, I don't have to go out and find it. I don't have to create it. It's right there. I can simply make another copy. And that's, if you have a printer, great. If not, go to a library. I know stuff's a little shut down because of COVID. Go to Kinko's, go to FedEx, go to Staples, go to Office Depot, do something. But I highly suggest making copies of the pages in the workbook for the purpose of being able to use it multiple times. Because let's be real, especially when it comes to writing, tracing your letters or numbers or shapes one time is not going to perfect your kid's ability to write that number, letter, or shape. They're going to have to practice. You're going to need something for them to practice on. So make copies so that they can do that. Once you write it in the book is done, and then it's useless. So just go ahead and make those copies. Last but not least, the program is only reading and language arts. That is the only downfall I have found for it so far. So it technically says it gives you about 2 to 3 hours a day worth of work, but it really doesn't take us that long to get through it, and that's with 2 kids. So what I suggest doing is adding your own science and math and social studies and art projects and things of that nature, even music, to your day while homeschooling, so that the kids don't get bored. Because in the beginning, I was just doing that and they were bored. Like after 2 days, they were like, are we done yet? Can I get up now? Do I have to stay here? Do I have to sit here? I don't want to do this anymore. Are we still? And then every book, every week focuses on one book. So you are focused on one book for an entire week, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because they get familiar with it and you can use so many different activities out of it. It's bad because they're bored and they're sick of looking at the same book sometimes. So you've got to kind of have a buffer and got to have some things in the middle to do to keep them busy and to keep them interested in learning. So adding your own science could be, we'll build a volcano, or we'll make a lava lamp, or dye some colored eggs. I think I've already made a video on doing the volcano, so I'll go ahead and post it for you guys. I'm also going to redo the volcano for you, because when I made the video, I did not make the volcano in front of you. I just erupted it. So I want to go back and show you guys the unboxing and how to actually make the mold of the volcano. But we'll get into that a little later. Adding math. Some of the things that I do for adding math are when the youngest takes her naps. Math for her is those cards, learning what her age, math is learning how to count. So we practice counting to certain numbers. Like she can count to 100 now. We've been practicing that. She can count to 100 flawlessly now. So math for 3-year-olds is learning how to count, and expanding how far they can count, identifying their numbers, whether it be the actual number or looking at something and say how many are there and them counting it and telling you how many there are there. That's her math. For him, he is actually well into adding and subtracting. So right now he's learning how to add and subtract double-digit numbers, like 10 plus 12 and things of that nature. So I literally went to the dollar store and found a book on adding and found a book on subtracting. They're little workbook pages that they can do, and he just sits there and, some of them will have pictures for them to count it out. Some of them, it'll just be the number. He can sit there and he works on those workbook pages, and then we go over it. And I even do things like to keep him from getting bored. He loves cars. He loves Hot Wheels. So literally bought him like a pack of 50 Hot Wheels to go with all the other cars he had, just for the purpose of math. Like I told mom, like, hey, this is educational. We gotta spend some money. Let's get some cars. And I kid you not, the little $30 worth of cars goes a long way, because what I'll sit there and do is I'll make him sit on the floor and dump out all his cars and say, hey, Sule, do me a favor. I want you to get 7 cars and line them up. And he'll line up 7 cars. And I'll say, okay, now 7 plus 3. He automatically, we talked about what plus and minus means and what addition and subtraction means. So when I say 7 plus 3, he automatically knows he needs to add 3 more cars. And then I'll say, well, what 7 plus 3 equal? And he'll count the cars and he'll tell me what they are. So some kids are really hands-on and visual. Give them something tangible that they can use to add and subtract with. And we just keep going. He'll give me the answer, and then I'll tell him to subtract something from that. And whatever that answer is, I'll add something to that, and I'll toggle back and forth. But give them something tangible to do it. Workbooks are great. Sometimes they just need something in their hands. It could be candy, it could be cards, it could be dolls, whatever you want to use that'll keep their attention, use that. Social studies, you can start with when they're really young at this age. Social studies is as simple as starting with, where do we live? Teaching them the difference between cities and states and countries and continents, making sure that they can identify where they live, and even teaching them their address is considered social studies. If your kid doesn't know their address, they need to know their address, teach them their address. Teach them their phone number, things like that. Teach them the streets that they live on, things of that nature. So you guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I think that's really all that I can think of as far as, what's going on with us in homeschooling. If you guys have any suggestions. Oh, I do have one more thing. We've been doing ABC Mouse and Homer are the 2 apps that ABC Mouse, Homer, and Jumpstart are the 3 apps that we've been using on tablets and iPads to keep them busy as far as activities go. So like those are educational games that they can play that still focus on math and reading and language arts and social studies and science. So if you guys have any suggestions, questions, or comments, please feel free to place them in the comment section below. If you did not see the video before this and you're a little confused, I will also post a link to that video below. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys. So I love you. Talk to you later.